Good morning and happy Saturday. So we are back to work on our covers. So that means we'll have two videos. This one and our last one will be doing the inside pages. And then we are done with this lovely, it's so exciting. So this is, I'll show you what I've decided to use. I know I was looking at the pink silk, but I got to thinking that it wasn't going to be as strong, and I'm going to show you why if I can find it down here. This is a pretty strong book cover here. I mean, you know, it's a good sized book, and this would be the silk. Now I could put the silk down on there, but and I would have painted and done more on it like I did here, but it's pretty thin, so I'd have to back it, and then backing it on this silk could be a bit of a hassle. It's not impossible, but it's probably not the best way to use this in a book like this. There are ways of doing it, so I decided that I should go with something a little bit more traditional so that I knew it would be stronger. So I've decided to use literally book cloth. This is something called book cloth, so it's already backed with a paper. It's a Japanese paper. I think this is I think they use Gampi on the back, but it's a good strong paper. It could even just be a good linen cotton mixture. It just depends on where the book cloth comes from. But this is traditional book cloth. You buy it on a roll, and I had a whole yard and a half or so of it. So it started off like this color, okay, and I stained it with tea and coffee, and of course my rusty bits, so I kind of got sort of a rusty coloration in there as well, this more orangey, and the black tea. And I really like this. I feel this will work nicely with the inside of the book. And so I eco stained it. And then I took my Sumi ink and I did my scripting over it. And so I really like the way this came out. So I will look for the links for book cloth. I bought this. I have tons of it that I bought over the years because I've done a lot of traditional bookbinding. And, you know, so many things have closed and are closing. And some of the places I noticed I've gotten stuff from before are not still around. So I'll see where I can find traditional book cloth, but this would actually come from a company that sells bookbinding, like archival bookbinding supplies. Short of that, you could actually just get a cotton or linen fabric from the fabric stores like Joann's or somewhere like that, and then you can just back it with a thin paper. You could even use the Japanese calligraphy paper that I like to use. So you could use something like this, which is very similar to what is being used on the back of this. And literally you could glue it and back it. And that's something that is possible if you know how to do that kind of thing. If not, you could just kind of even, I mean, it's all, you know, experimental. You literally just put glue down on the back, on the paper or on the back of the cloth, and then lay it down. Use a smoother like your bone folder and also a card just to kind of smooth out from the center out, and then let it dry under weight. Put the whole thing down under with some wax paper and a lot of books and weight it. So you could give it a try, you know, just, you know, play around with some inexpensive fabric. The other thing, if you have upholstery weight fabric, you wouldn't necessarily need to back that because it's already pretty heavy. So you could try this with upholstery weight if you wanted to. And then of course you can use any papers, just papers you've jelly printed on or anything like that to cover your book. Or you could gesso the book and then use your collage papers and collage the book, your cover as it is. So that could be done as well. But I decided I wanted to put this on here, and I thought it'd be fun to show you guys a little traditional bookbinding technique. So I liked this bit as the center, so when I was cutting it out, I pretty much figured that I could kind of get this on there like right about there. And I know I'd have more on this side, but it should be just about enough to come around and get around the inside of my book, and I have enough clearance. So that's what it's going to, oh, this looks so good already. My goodness. You know me already. So I like it like that. So this is pretty much centered. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to go ahead, since I know this is enough to come on the inside there. I'll get a clip that, and then I'm just going to bring this back, and all these little bits and pieces I can use for other projects. Oh, this is definitely not throwaway. That should give me enough so you can pretty much fold that, and then I'll just cut it. Cuts pretty easily. Just giving myself a little extra than the other side so I'll have some place to go. But see, this will be great even just to collage with or use in some of my other book structures. So, okay, good. So I'm kind of feeling like okay. This will go around here nicely. Okay, so I'm going to start gluing from this side because I definitely want to make sure that this doesn't slide or move on me. So the best way to start this process is like this. Kind of wanted it slightly off, just a little bit. So I like this sort of creeping on the edge. Oh, this is going to be great. Okay, so for right now, I'm going to clip it in place right here. That way I don't have to worry about my cloth moving that much. But let me just get this so that make sure it's even from top to bottom. I want to make sure I have the same amount of clearance. Like that. I know I have enough to come over this way. It'll be enough to come over that way. And I'm going to come back and check this bit right here. Okay, so that's about what I want. Okay, so good. What we're going to do, we're going to say goodbye to our trusty JSF all these months. And I'm going to use my PVA. Now this is actually archival book binders. This company is no longer around, but I've had this, you know, always buy by the gallons, and I, you know, getting low, but it does last a long time, has a good shelf life. So what we're going to do is clean this top out. I'm going to put the glue on the book board. You always try to put the glue on the most stable surface. So right now, this book board is going to be the most stable. So I want to get a good amount down there. This is a glue brush, the traditional glue brush. It's designed to spread PVA glue nicely on the books. So remember, you can just collage on your front. You can play around with some fabric that you have and just back it with paper. You can even back it with copier paper. It doesn't have to be super special. Just make sure that you get it down smooth and that you put it under weight and let it dry completely. I'm going to let this go over the side just a little bit like that. Just make sure you let the whole thing dry completely so that it's completely dry before you go back and start working with it, because you don't want any moisture in that cloth while you're trying to do your covers. So I've got a nice amount of glue, you can see on here. Once I get that on there, you stipple the cover. And you can just use a stiff paintbrush. Don't use your good paintbrush, because this glue is kind of really gets into the bristles, and a regular paintbrush can be ruined. But if you have an old one, or you get a cheapo, and you just stipple. If you have an old stippling brush like that you use for wall stencils, you're not using it any longer, that's similar to this one. You could use that. So we have nice peaks and valleys. That's what you want, because you want, this glue works best when you can really get really good adhesion. So now I'm going to bring this over to where I know I wanted it. So that's about where I wanted it to be. It sets up pretty good, but you got a little bit of time. I got a little bit of time to make sure I'm getting this right. Then first I'm just going to take a credit card, smooth out, take your glue, and you want to smooth everything out to the edge. Then I'm going to come back with my bone folder, and I'm going to go ahead and start getting my little creases, and because I had that original crease there, so might as well, let's get everything nice and smooth. This looks good. Oh, I love it. It looks like an old, it already looks like an old found book in a flea market or something like that, right? Oh, you guys know how much I love that. So I'm really smoothing it. I want to get any of the glue bubbles out. And make sure my volume is up good. Hopefully I thought that was going to happen. I got feedback, so I think we're pretty good. Let me do it here. Okay, that's good. I just want to make sure you guys. Okay, so that looks good. That's the first part of what we have going. Oh, love it. Oh, okay. Alrighty, so now what we want to do is we're going to move around the side of the book. So that kept everything just where we wanted it. Now I'm going to get some glue. I'm going to get this down first. So, kind of jam my bristles into that edge where it's already glued, just to make sure we don't have any air pockets. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to take the book and I'm going to pull the paper, the cloth, while I wrap. And then come back around this way. Oh, look, I got a circle like right in a perfect spot. It's not if I had planned it. Like I could actually do some scripting down here now. Oh, I love it. So we're really going to just use the bone folder. Bone folder is good because you can use an actual bone folder, or you can use these Teflon ones. Either way, they don't make your paper or your cloth shiny. But you get a really good adhesion. Oh, I'm loving this. So, let's see where we are. Excuse me for the sniffles. Okay, what I'm going to do now, before I actually finish this cover, let me just see something here. I always like to think 2 or 3 times, you know, cut or glue once. Okay. So what we're going to do is we'll make a way. So you see how we have, so you can see it. You see how we have, I'll pick it up. The fabric is just totally wrapping around. So what we need to do is cut this a bit And I'm going to get rid of some of it so I can tuck it into this spine area there, because it's like an open space, to finish this off. And it just gives a little bit of ease. So when I'm finished wrapping this around, everything won't be too tight. So basically what you want to do, I'm going to take my scissors. I'm just going to cut in right at the place where the folds are for the, see? So I'm lining it up. This is, let me see if I can point to it. Get my whole hand out the way. So see, this is where the bend in the book is. And I want to be able to tuck this in there underneath that spine. So all I did was cut close to it. You want to come close, but not too close. You'd rather for it to roll in than to have it cut too deeply. So I'm just going to cut just a little bit more. Put it down. Just going to cut in maybe, you know, about a 1/16 of an inch away. Like that. Then what I'm going to do, I could use my straight edge for this. I'm going to get rid of just a bit of this. No need to tuck. When I go to tuck this in, put this down so it doesn't move. When I go to tuck it in, it's no need for me to have too much to fold in. You'll see what I'm talking about as we get to that point. Okay. Okay. So see, we just want that little bit gone. So we're going to come down here and do the same thing. This I have a little bit more, so cut there. And where's, okay, and I can just cut straight across because I have a little bit more here. You can do it either way, scissors or with your ruler. I'm gonna cut this. I need to get a little closer. I'd rather take small little snips and get where I need to be than err on the side of too much. Just a little bit more. Main thing is I don't want to snip. Oh, I cut myself yesterday with some scissors, and it's healing, but it still kind of wants to open up on me. I just noticed that, so that's no good. Got just a little bit of blood on the inside of my book. Sorry, guys, but at least it's on the inside. Wipe it off. Okay, so I gotta watch that. Okay, so that's ready. So now what we can do is go ahead and glue this piece. So we'll get some glue on the book. Okay. Alrighty. Stippling also gets those stroke marks because this glue is kind of, I mean, it is thick. It's a really good, like I said, it's good archival. I'll put some links too, because on Amazon you can get the Lenco. They're like bookbinding supplies, and they actually do have a good glue. But see, it can be kind of streaky also, so you want to make sure that you don't have like these brush streaks in there. So sometimes, depending on whatever kind of paper you're putting down, sometimes those streaks can show up, and when they dry, it doesn't always look the best. So, but when you stipple, you kind of get an even surface, so that's definitely better. Okay, let me just get some copier paper here. just to work clean, even though we're going to be doing those inside pages, just then that way, you know, if you go off and what have you, you're not worried about it. It's not causing your other side to stick to itself. Okay. And doing this stippling also helps your glue to start setting up, so it's not so, you know, loose. It starts drying and getting tighter. Okay, so now we're going to do this. I'm going to push the book this way so I can push against it as I pull the cloth over. I'm going to hold that while I take, working from the middle, you go out. So from the center, in the middle of the book, you want to go out like that. And then that way you don't have, you know, you don't run the risk of having like wrinkles, and the wrinkles coming back this way, because you might think, oh, I'll do this way, and if you're pushing all the material and you're pushing the glue back here, that's how you get ripples and stuff. But if you start from the center of the book, the middle, and you go out like in a fan, you have the best success with not having bubbles and ripples and stuff. And down here, we want to get that in there. That just makes for that nice gutter that's already on the book. Alrighty, let's take a look. So far, so good. Okay, I'm going to get another sheet for this other side when we get to it. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to set up for getting this around. Once I get it, yeah, that's perfect. Okay, it's going to be good. So what I like to do at this point in the game, I go ahead and just even up. If I have this much at the top, I want to be basically about this much on the side. So I'm just going to take my scissors and just basically cut straight down. So I have about the same amount of gutter. See, so I want it so it's even. You don't want it like a big piece here and a little piece there, because it'll make a difference. I'm sorry, I'm not on frame. You want it to be even top to bottom, so that when you actually go to put our end sheet down, you don't have all this uneven lumpiness going on inside. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to take these scissors and I'm going to cut approximately the same amount. Okay, so that's good. See, that comes over really nicely. Okay, so while we're at it, let's just go ahead and do the same thing for this back cover. So I'm going to go against my top. So my top is about the same as the other side. So once again, make sure I'm on frame for you guys. So it's about the same amount. I'm just going to cut okay, and we'll come around and do about the same here. Perfect. I think I might have just gone off a little. Okay, so coming along good. Yay. Okay, now we have this bit to deal with. So one of the easiest ways is just to cut on an angle close enough to this. I normally come out about a 1/16 of, oh gosh, I am so sorry guys. I'm not used to trying to, let me make sure I stay in frame here. So right here we want to come out about about a 1/16 of an inch when I cut my angle, so that that little bit's going to fold over the top here. You can even like take it and fold it over and get a crease like that, and then you can cut against that, because you know that pretty much that's going to cover. So we'll just go like that. Now see, that's going to come in, this is going to come this way, that's going to come that way, and we're going to get that really nice corner. Okay. If you're not certain, you can err a little bit on the side of being a little further away from it. That's fine, because it's easy to tuck or cut it at that point than to be too close and you can't add the fabric back on. I got a little bit too much there. Okay, and then the last one here. Okay, so now we're going to be ready to glue this up and get all this out the way. Let me just put this in the trash. That way I'm not working over top of myself, because all this little stuff gets in the way, especially when I'm doing bookbinding. I really do try to keep my surface neat, because it could be a distraction. Alrighty, so now we've basically got this ready to glue in. So before I actually put this down, I'm going to go ahead and tuck this in. So to do that, I'm just going to take a little bit off these corners, because that's going to get tucked in, and the less, see, I just made those little angles. Let me just cut that little, oh come on, angle off. So, because I'm going to be tucking that in, and so the lesser amount of that I have, the better. So this one we have to take our bone folder and everything. So I'm going to get some glue. Let me get some glue. Come on. It's going a little slow there. Okay. I'm going to take our little waste paper and move this out the way. We're just going to get some glue in there. Definitely want to take the bristles and just jam it in there just a little bit, so that, you know, you don't ever want any gaps or air pockets when you go to glue things, that when you go once it's done, there wasn't any glue there, and then it kind of like bubbles, you know, it's constantly bubbling and doing something weird. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take our bone folder, and what I'm going to do is see if I can show you this. It's a little tricky, so work with me. I've got to open this. See, there's space between the spine, because I can get my bone folder down there. So I'm going to take the spine, I'm going to pull it back with my finger. I'm going to take this fabric, I'm going to fold it right at the point where my book is, and then I'm going to take the bone folder and I'm going to just jam it down there the rest of the way. And it'll go right down there. And since I got those little corners off, just makes it easier. And then it's down in there. Oh my goodness, look how good that looks. We got a nice edge here. And see? So far we got a nice, come on, let's focus. We got a nice header going there. See that? That just looks good. It's just ready. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on this side. We are going to, where's my scissors? Okay. And see, I could just stand to cut a little bit more off, not too much. And then I'm going to take this edge off because we don't need it, because that's just extra to be worrying about tucking down in this book. Take that off. Also, what was I thinking? I wanted to say, I know these are a lot of steps that I'm showing you guys, and if you've never done books, this kind of thing before, it can be a lot. One of the things that I'm doing in my Patreon group this year, one of at the BTS level, is we're doing a lot of book binding. And book binding is one of those things, it really truly is a skill. It's like any kind of skill, singing, music. It really does take a lot of practicing and building up your skill set. So I'm doing this in a way that hopefully makes sense, because I really wanted you guys to see how I'm finishing off the book. If you really are interested in book binding, you can join my Patreon. It's only $25 a month, and I do like 6, at least 12 plus videos a month. Every month we're doing, I always do at least 12 videos, and it's on journaling, and we're doing our art journaling, our mail art. We're really digging into that. Of course, I do some Gelli printing, and also in the BTS we're doing the book binding. So it's kind of sort of intense. It's like, it's not easy for me to really cover it over here on Instagram, because YouTube, because it is a lot to it, and then you've got to really, it would slow down all the other kind of projects we get to do. But because I know some people have asked me, and it's not that I'm not trying to, you guys who know me know I love to share techniques, so it's not about not wanting to do it, it's just involved. Book, it's just like trying to say, show me how to be a master tailor or something on YouTube videos. You really just almost have to, that's all you're doing is putting them up. And since I have other platforms, I just can't do that. But yeah, but if you're interested, otherwise, just see what other tutorials you can find. I'm sure there's others around, but in this case, I'm showing you pretty good. So just slow the video down, stop it, come back, rewind it, take your time. Don't get frustrated with yourself. And that's why I'm telling you all this, because I don't want you to feel like, oh, Robin made it look so easy, and why am I struggling with it? Well, that's going to be par for the course, because I've been doing this 30 years. Okay, so you know how that is when you do something a long time. You can make it look easy. So don't beat yourselves up, but just slow the video down, come back, look at it, take your time with it. Don't try to skip ahead and do a lot of steps. Just take it bit by bit, and come back. If you kind of get a little overwhelmed, okay, you say, okay, I got this chunk. Just take your time and come back. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on all these flaps right here. Doing it the same way. You don't want too much. You want a good amount of coverage, but you don't need a whole lot of, you don't want it, soak in wet glue, because it will squish out. We are going to be putting end pages over it, so this is the nice thing about it. We won't see what's happening here, so you don't have to fret about that. So if you're thinking about, oh, I'm messing up the cover, it's all glue everywhere, don't worry. I'll have a solution for that next week when we do our bookends. I'm just sorry about the frame. It's just that I have to see it, and this is kind of odd, but we're getting through it. Okay, so same thing. So now what we're going to do is, what I like to do is, I like this to be the last piece that's going to flip over. So I'm going to bring this piece up first. Same thing, just really pull it tight. Get it down in there. Pull from the center. Pull all the way across like that. And then See how the glue is going to squish out? We're going to get some of that. And what I like to do is take my time, wipe my bone folder off, keep on doing this. You can wipe the extra off. So, but we want a good seal. So there we go. Okay. So we have this little dog ear right there. See that? Okay. So what we're going to do, what I like to do, start off is I take my finger and push it in. So it just goes in and then right around the piece that I laid down. So we're just gonna, you just kind of just keep on, because the fabric is pliable. So I'm lifting so you can sort of see it. So you see how I'm starting to round. You see how I'm rounding that corner? Can we see it? See how I'm rounding it? It's not like a little point sticking out. We don't want any points there. We want that to be rounded. So that'll set up. Let's come to this top one and do the same thing. So we want to pull from the middle and then bring this piece in. That's going to go in there. Okay. And so same thing here. We take that little dog ear that's sticking out, you just push it up over the edge, and then you just kind of keep on sort of working your material. You're kind of like, because it's already moist, you're just kind of flattening it and rolling it over the edge so that it gets nice and smooth. And now we have this piece here, which may have dried just a little bit. Sometimes I just come back and just fresh it up, stipple it up just a little bit. Kind of the glue already on there. You just kind of reactivate it, and you already have a little bit on the brush, so you don't need to actually put new glue on. And then we're going to take it this way. Once again, starting from the middle, really roll it over. And then side, you know, on kind of doing it equal all the way around until we get to here. And then now we'll get our bone folder. I always just like to wipe it off because I don't mind if the glue gets on this book part, because we're going to be cleaning, we're going to be covering that, but I don't want it to get, you know, on the cloth, because some of the cloth is going to get covered, but until you know how much is going to be covered, you just don't necessarily want a lot of shiny glue. So that's what the front looks like. Oh my goodness, it's looking great. So all we have to do is the back, and then we have a wonderful cover. Okay, so let's do the same thing here. Just fold this over so I don't get glue where I don't want it. So we're going to start on this edge. And just so you know, I have off camera just a little thing of a bit of glue on. It's kind of hard to see the way the light is. Sorry about that. I just put some glue on some plastic, you know, so that way I have it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this on here. So what's cool about this is you could actually take any altered book that, you know, has a cover on it, maybe you don't really care for the cover, and you can really turn it into a beautiful, you know, bound book just with this process. Just what we're doing. Okay, flip it around. Let me get rid of that. I get nervous when I start getting too much glue. I'd rather get me a fresh sheet, because that's never good. You can always just slide and then you get glue on your cover where you don't want it. So don't hesitate to change out to a fresh sheet. We're going to really just jam it in on this. It's got a good amount in there, but I always like to make sure that I've got enough around that edge. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to flatten it. We're going to grab it in the middle. Always grab it from the center. Then, go to one side and to the next. That way you don't end up with something that you get a bubble over the edge, or it doesn't go off crooked funny, and now you got too much fabric sticking over there where you definitely don't want it. So let me pull this down. Okay. Okay. So same thing, we're going to just take that little 1/16 of an inch. You're just really bending it into the, I'll show you again. You're just bending it into that corner. Let's see, the focusing gods. Okay, see that? It's just that little bit you're bending into that corner. And then with that there, you come back to the piece that you were working on, and you just kind of lay that over the top, and using your bone folder, just kind of let it set up. Come on. Okay. So I'm going to let that set up. I'm going to come up here and do this one. Same thing. Just make sure you really pull it in this area here, because it's kind of where you have a little extra bulk. And we want to make sure that this is all nice and flush here too. So this is looking good here. You always want to just check your edges, just roll them. You just always want to make sure while everything is setting up, it's all looking good. This glue stays pretty pliable for a good period of time, so that you can see, because right here I got a little extra bubble that I don't want, so I can just take something and lift it just a bit, and I'll just take a little edge of in fact, I'll just take this, put it there like that, because it's still wet underneath there, and then just pull it again, just so that we know. So you always want to check your book while it's setting up. This part I will probably trim this once it's all dry and set up in this area, but we'll see. We'll come back to that. If you want to do any trimming, it's always best when it's dry. Okay, so now here we are with this last piece here. Let's get a little bit more glue. We don't need a lot. Okay. So right here again, remember we want to tuck that in. Tuck it in and bring it over. And then using our bone folder, we are just rolling. It's just kind of like you're doing like a rolling, just with your finger. You're just kind of rolling it up over so that it's not a point there. Don't want a point. I'm going to bring this way, starting with the middle again. Remember, we want to pull it. Main thing is to pull this up so that we don't have any. So kind of want to go over, same kind of rolling motion. And now that's down nice and flat. We've got nice rolled edges here. We don't have any little dog ear points. We don't want any points. Those little points on the corners of the book, no good. Okay, and you see how this is nice and even. So we go to put our book cloth on, you know, we have a nice even gutter. It's not going to be, you know, off and sort of strange. So right here, it's lifting up a little bit. Actually, it's a little extra fabric, so I can just take and just cut that a bit. Kind of get it out the way. Take the point of my bone folder and just put a little glue there. Nice thing about this PVA, it does dry clear. You know, it's okay in the area where you're binding it. You just don't want it all over your book cover, you know. Okay. Let's take a look at her. So now what you want to do is you definitely want to take your bone folder and just go across all your edges like this and flatten them. You know how books' edges are flat? You know, we want that nice, flat, crisp edge. We don't want it like rolled and rounded. So see how this is sort of rounded? You guys can see how that's rounded. And when I do like this, it flattens it. And then I know it's going to be a nice look to our book. See how it's crisp now? You got that nice edge. Can you see? Come on. I think you guys saw it a minute ago. Okay, there we go. See, you got that nice edge. That's what you want. Okay, so we just do that. That helps for when the book is drying. Now it's getting ready to dry, so I don't have to worry. It's going to just kind of lay and sit. Let's see. Put my glue brush in some water because that glue is going to start. So I didn't put it in water the whole time I was working with it because it was going to stay moist enough. But now that I'm done, you definitely want to get it in some water because it really gets glued all up there in those bristles. So put it in the water and let it sit a little bit. You know, maybe just 20 minutes or so, and then come back and take it and clean it. But you really want those bristles to what am I trying to say? Get, you know, loosen up the glue. So now here I'm just taking my bone folder. You can't do enough of this kind of stuff. Scoring in these gutters. Because see, we had that too, right? See that ridge? We want that ridge because that's what, you know, our book looks like. In any place where it looks like, I'm going to put this under weight. I have a book press, but you know what you can do is take it and put it under a stack of books. What you want to do is put a piece of tracing paper, you could, but a piece of wax paper here and wax paper here in the back. That way you don't transfer moisture. You don't have to worry about this sticking. Like if it's extra glue, it sticks and then, you know, you're ripping your page. So piece of wax paper here, one here, then lay it down, put it under weight and let it dry. Now you're going to notice that your boards are going to be curving slightly in. See how mine are curving a little bit in? It's because now I have more fabric on this side of the board and it's pulling the board in. But as soon as we come back and put our end paper here, then I've got to decide what I'm doing with these. I think I said I was going to, I may just take all of these out and just leave. I think I said I was going to take these out, leave this, and then I'm going to put end papers on both sides. But we'll see. That's my thinking. But anyway, that's it. We're ready to let it rest and set up, and you have a beautifully covered altered book. You know, make your own fabric. I mean, do like I did. Get some, I have book cloth, but you can get cotton linen or cotton linen combination or just cotton. Do a little staining, a little coffee staining on it. Do a little scripting. And look at that. It's just so yummy. And I'm so happy that that's there at the top of the book, because I could actually do something down this spine once it all dries. And that's that. Oh my goodness, look at this. It just looks so good. I have to say so myself. You guys know how excited I am. So we're actually coming up on an hour. That wasn't bad. We got that bit done in an hour, so you'll do good. And next week when we come back, I'm going to have the end papers. We're going to finish getting ready these pages. I'll show you how I'm going to do it. We're going to put our end papers down, and we're going to be done. Wow, beautiful altered book, but like something you can really be proud of, because you know you got all this just yummy art inside, and it just becomes a conversation piece. You've made your own coffee table book. You know, how wonderful is that? So, all right. Hopefully, you know, this will work out for you. If you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comments, but you guys will do good. Just stop, pause the video, start it again, pause. If you get a little frustrated, stop. Even if you have glue on it, stop. Doesn't matter if it dries. You can come back and put more glue on it, and it won't hurt the project. But take your time, and trust me, it will be beautiful. You'll be successful. You know, just don't worry. Don't try to go all the way through like I did. You know, I've got 30 years of doing this. Just understand that you're going to be able to accomplish it, but take your time. You guys know I always got to give you the pep talk and let you know that, you know, you're going to get through it. Don't worry. But yeah. So there we have it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thumbs it up, of course, as always. If you're new to the channel, go back to the very beginning. There is a playlist called the Altar Book Project. If you go to my channel and hit playlist, it'll take you all the way back to that first one. You can start working your way through, and you'll end up at this spot like we are, so no worries about that. Follow the channel, please. And I guess that's everything. I look forward to your comments and, you know, chatting with you in a little bit. As always, love you guys so much. You're awesome, and take care of yourselves. And, yep, I'll see you back here soon. Alrighty, bye-bye.